Hey, I'm Liz from No Trace. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a really simple mini backpack that has the addition of a little exterior zipper pocket. This is definitely a confident beginner project. I'm going to walk you through it, so let's go. The finished size of the mini backpack is about 10 inches wide, about 10 inches tall, and it has about 4 inches of depth at the bottom. The zipper pocket is perfect for a little wallet like this. Also, it fits sunglasses, chapstick, hand sanitizer, you know, all the fun little stuff. And then the rest of the bag has lots of room for your little travel stuff, whatever you take out in the world with you. It could fit a short water bottle and loads more. And it closes with a zipper gusset, although I have variations for different closures if you wanted to do something different. And it comes together pretty fast, so let's get into it. As usual, I have typed out the materials that you need underneath this video, so you can always just click down into the description box to see what you need. The inside of the mini backpack is made up from 2 pieces of fabric that are 12 inches wide, 14 inches tall. And then the outside is also 2 pieces of fabric, 12 inches wide, 14 inches tall. I'm using a heavier weight material. I would recommend a heavier weight material like a canvas or lightweight denim for the outside of your mini backpack. In order to make the puffed out pocket, you need 2 pieces of fabric that are both 7 inches wide, and the bottom part of the pocket is 6 inches tall, and the top part of the pocket is 5 inches tall. And I'm also using a 7-inch zipper. I am using a zipper gusset for this version of my mini backpack, but I also have a variation where you just use 2 snaps, and I have a version where you construct a small flap. So decide what you want to use for the closure. You're also going to need a couple of yards, or maybe even a little more, of 1-inch wide strap or webbing, and 2 1-inch ladder lock buckles. I have a link to purchase these in the description box below this video. I have already attached my straps to one of my outer panels, so I will link to the tutorials where I walk you through this with a lot of detail if you want to see how to get the straps attached to one of the panels. The first step to construct the little puffed out pocket is that we want to sew the bottom edge of the right side of the top fabric to the top edge of the zipper. So I am just going to fold this over, and I'll do a couple of clips. Once it's clipped onto the zipper, I'm going to take this to the machine and sew along this edge with my zipper foot. Okay, the top edge is sewn in place. I'm going to flip this over, and then I'm going to top stitch the top edge in place. And then I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to go ahead and pin or clip the bottom piece on. I'm going to make sure to line it up with the top piece. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to sew it onto the zipper. Then I'm going to flip it over and top stitch. So I'll be right back. All right, these 2 parts are sewn to the zipper. And in the next step, I'm actually going to fold the top edge again towards the bottom, and I'm going to do one more row of stitches right along this edge where there's a little bit of a crease. I'm just going to go right on top of that little crease. Okay, I did that extra row of stitches there. Now I'm going to actually fold it again, and I want the top fabric to be covering the zipper. So you're kind of folding it back, but not all the way back. And then once it's covering the zipper, not a ton, but enough that the zipper is going to be kind of hidden. Then you can pin it along that crease. And then we're actually going to sew this in place. Okay, I put a few pins in there. And now I'm going to flip this whole thing around so that I can just sew through this edge that I just folded up. And I just want to sew about 1 inch away from this edge, right in this little ditch. So I'm not sewing the zipper, I'm only sewing the fabric that I just folded over. And that's going to give us the little cover for the zipper. Okay, so I've sewn that spot right there. And in the next step, I'm going to bring the zipper pull to the inside. And I am going to sew all around this edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance so that I can shorten this zipper. And I like to work with metal zippers because I try to avoid plastic where I can. So I'm going to sew very carefully across these metal teeth at my sewing machine. And then after I do a simple straight stitch, I'm actually going to do a little zigzag stitch on the very edge so that I don't have any fraying happening on the inside of my pocket. So let's sew. Okay, I did the zigzag stitch, I did the straight stitch, I shortened my zipper. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to create the little pop outness of the pockets. And the way we do this is by folding, bringing the bottom edge to the side edge. And by the way, I learned this from with Wendy. I'm going to link to her original video in the description box below this video if you want to see her do this. She doesn't do the zigzag stitch, but basically everything else I learned from her. So I'm very grateful for that. Okay, so I am going to put a pin right here. And this little pleat is going to become the puffiness. And I want to sew right about 1 inch from here going up. So let me make a little mark with chalk. So this is where I want to sew, just kind of straight across the corner here. And then when we turn everything right side out and we take that pin out, we'll have a nice little pleated corner. So I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to bring this end up to get a nice straight line. And then I'm going to make a mark at 1 inch from the bottom corner going up, add a pin, and I'm going to repeat that on these two corners also. Okay, so now the pocket looks really funny like this, and I'm going to go ahead and sew where I marked it, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just finished sewing, so now I can just push out those corners. And there is my awesome pocket. Yay! Okay, so now we got to get the pocket in place on the front outer panel of the bag. And I am going to be putting it centered 4 inches above the bottom edge. So let's go ahead and find the center of the outer panel and 4 inches from the bottom. So I'm going to use my quilting ruler here. I know that this is 12 inches, so I know that the middle should be the 6 inch mark, which, oh, you can't really see, but the middle is the 6 inch line on my quilting ruler. This quilting ruler happens to be 4 inches tall, so I'm just going to put a mark right at 6 inches in the middle. And now I'm going to find the center of my pocket, and there's a million ways to do this, but I like to just fold it in half and crease it with my fingers to find the center. So now I have a little crease right there that you can barely see, and I want to put that right on that chalk mark. And actually, I should have creased it further down. We want to actually crease it further down on the raw edge. So that was my bad there. Okay, so now I have a crease at the raw edge. So I want the raw edge lined up with that dot. And now the next part is a little bit fussy because we actually want to fold over the edge of the pocket that has the stitching on it. And we want that to be tucked under the pocket. Okay, so I want the crease to line up with the dot, but I want to make sure all that stitching is hidden. And then I'm going to put a pin right there to hold it in place. And I want to fold over this little raw edge all the way around on my pocket, and I want to pin it all the way around on my bag. So it's going to be a little bit fussy, and I also want to make sure that my pocket doesn't get too crooked. So I can use my ruler to kind of help me guide my folding. So I'm going to keep folding and pinning, and then I'll be right back. Okay, you might have to move your pins around a few times until your pocket looks like it's centered and straight and you get enough puffiness here at the corners. I had to kind of take it apart or take the pins out and put them in a couple of times. And you could also test it out and put some stuff inside and just see how your pocket looks. But once you feel like it's in a really good spot, then it's time to sew it onto the outer panel. And to do this, we're just going to be sewing really close to the pinned edge. So as close as we can get to that folded over edge. And I will say that a metal zipper is a lot trickier. So if you have nylon zippers laying around, that'll be easier than using a metal zipper. But I'm just going to hand crank at the machine over the metal zipper area because it's going to be kind of bulky and I don't want to break a needle. So let's go to the machine. All right, the pocket is sewn on, and I kind of wish I had made my triangles a little bit bigger. So you might want to make your triangles bigger than 1 inch. And if you do a metal zipper, you can always go in from the back and do some hand stitching to really lock it in right at that spot where I had to kind of hand crank. So I'm going to do a couple little hand stitches to make sure that this is super secure. And then I'll show you how to put it all together. Okay, these are now sewn together, the 2 outer layers, with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to do a quick boxing of the corners. I'm going to box 2 inches off of each of the corners. So I'm going to go ahead and mark and cut and sew, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, I went ahead and I boxed those corners. I also repeated those steps with my liner fabric. So this fabric has also been sewn together and the corners have been boxed. And I added a zipper pocket. I have another tutorial, of course, on how to add a zipper pocket. So if you want to add that to your mini backpack, the link is in the description box below this video. So the next thing to do is we are going to be putting the liner fabric with the right side out into the outer fabric. And I want to put the side with the zipper up against the side of my bag that has the straps. So I'm just going to push that in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and line things up on the sides. And I like to open up my seams, which if you've watched any of my videos, you probably know that. I like to open up my side seams and then line them up with each other and then clip them together. By the way, if you're still watching, leave me a comment. Just say side seams and down in the comments below. And tell me who you're making a mini backpack for. Is it going to be for you, for the kid, or the friend, or sister or brother? Okay, so the sides are clipped. And then I'm going to add a pin here and here. And I'm not sure who this mini backpack is for. I might claim this one for myself, or I might give it to a friend. I don't know. I have made so many mini backpacks as part of this series, which has been really fun. It's been like a deep dive on mini backpacks, a meditation, if you will, on mini backpacks. So I probably have about 10 in my sewing studio right now. Okay, so once the top edges are lined up and pinned together, I'm going to go ahead and sew all around this edge with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'm going to leave an opening of about 3 or 4 inches. I'm going to do it on the front, but it doesn't really matter. Actually, it's going to be more like a 4 or 5 inch opening here in the front of the bag. So I'll be right back. Okay, I sewed the top edge up, and now I have this little opening to turn everything right side out. And now I'm going to push the inner layer inside the outer layer, and I am going to go ahead and iron the top edge really well, especially where that opening is. And for this bag, I am going to be using a zipper gusset to close it, which I've already made. Like I said, if you want to do this, it's really easy, and my tutorial is in the description box below this video. But first, I am going to iron, and then I'll show you how to pin it in place. It's finished. If you want a PDF sewing pattern that walks you through this version of the mini backpack and a whole bunch of other versions, I have the link in the description box underneath this video.